Hey there YouTube, JCM45 here, coming at you with yet another action figure review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the highly anticipated Medicom Mafex Hush Batman. This is Batman as he appeared in the iconic 2003 storyline Hush by Jeff Loeb and written by Jeff Loeb, drawn by Jim Lee. And this figure is directly based off of that Jim Lee art style, and this is quite the highly anticipated figure. A lot of folks, including myself, have been greatly anticipating this, and just looking from the general shots we've seen so far online, it's looking to be pretty good. So there's quite a bit we have to get into here, so let's take a look, and we'll start off by looking at the box. So packaging is pretty standard for your Medicom Mafex figures. It's fairly basic. You've got Batman Hush written on the side. You have a nice promo shot of Batman. You have the DC Comics logo. You've got the Mafex logo, Batman Hush. And then you flip it over to the side. You have, just says Batman Hush. You have more promotional shots of Batman. Flip it to the back. You get more promotional shots. You get a nice little read up there, and a look at what accessories he comes with. Flipping it over to the side, you have a nice shot of Batman looking great, Hush written there on the top. And on the top of the box here, you've just got Batman Hush, another promotional shot, and then some warnings, ages 15 and up, your barcode, and everything else. So now that we've taken a look at that box, let's look at this figure. And here we have the Dark Knight detective himself out of his packaging and looking pretty spectacular. Here's Batman as he appeared in Hush, like I said, by Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb. And so this is directly based off of the Jim Lee art style that was featured in that comic. And the likeness is pretty spot on. It is a great representation of Jim Lee's art in 3D, and honestly, it's just a great looking figure. I can't really complain too much about the aesthetic. I am personally a fan of the gray and blue look, the blue cape and cowl as featured here. They are doing a variant with the black cape and cowl as well, so if you're more interested in that particular look, then that's also coming out. I'm not exactly sure when, but I do prefer the blue look, at least with Jim Lee. Jim Lee tends to, at least in Hush and other earlier works he did with Batman, he tends to do a bluer cape and cowl, maybe a little bit, maybe black with more blue highlights too, so it's pretty good. Moving in a closer look here at the figure itself, we can take a look at his head, and it looks great. He's got a great stern look on his face there. He does come with a couple alternate heads, which we will look at here in a little bit. But, yeah, it's looking great there. The blue, or the dark blue that they used for the paint there is perfect. I really like the sculpt. The ears are short, and in the center of his head there, you can see his actual ears through the cowl itself, like Jim Lee tends to do in his art, so that looks really good. Moving on down, we have a nice wired cape here, which we'll get into that in a little bit. I'll talk about that. Going on down to the bodysuit here, it's a nice gray, and it does have a nice wash there to kind of bring out the details, or it's not just a straight up gray paint job. There definitely is a way they definitely did something to highlight the muscle definition there. The pat is nicely painted in. There's not really too many paint imperfections that I can see. Then again, I have pretty bad eyes, so I might not be the best of judge there. Just going on down to the belt. It is a yellow-ish belt, and I almost kind of wish they went with a tanner color. Promotional art for the black and gray Batman have, I think, a tanner color, so we'll see how that one turns out in real life. But it's not bad. I do like the yellow. The yellow's fine. and it looks good there. There's not too much paint slop. I do kind of wish they did a wash to kind of bring out the details a little bit. It is kind of hard to tell, but you can see some detailing there on the pouch and on the buckle, but it just kind of gets lost in the yellow there. Going on down, he's got his gauntlet or his gloves here. You can see his 3 spines here. They are a softer plastic, so you really don't have to worry about breaking them too much, which is great. I do appreciate that. Those aren't going anywhere. And the blue obviously matches the cape and cowl and the briefs that on him as well for his gloves and his boots. His briefs look pretty good. Nothing to complain about there. Moving on down to his legs. It's just the same gray bodysuit all the way through, so the same detailing they did on the upper torso is done on the legs as well, so they looks great there. Same with the boots. They're very nice and clean paint job there. Looking quite good. We'll take a quick look at the back of the figure, just so you can get a quick look at what he looks like. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. Looks just as good there as it does in the front, which, I mean, you're not going to really look at it with the cape on there. So he looks really good. I really like the aesthetic of this figure. I'm very happy with it. Medicom did a great job. Alright, next up, let's talk about Batman's cape. And I gotta say, this is a pretty impressive cloth cape that they included with this figure. And save for a couple issues, I like it for what it is. So let's talk about it. First off, the color of the actual fabric does match the paint they used on the cape and cowl, gloves and boots and whatnot. All very well. Matches very well. You can't, it's great. So that's a non-issue. One of my 2 complaints about this cape is, as you can see, it is spread out quite a bit. It's very big, and that is not a complaint. That is very great. That is very nice. Very cool to be able to pull off poses like this where he's jumping down and the cape is spread out like in the comics and he looks like a bat. It's great. However, let's take this guy off the stand here. If you take a quick look and we go and we pose him up normally in just kind of a neutral position here, the cape, when set up here, can be a little bit cumbersome and can kind of be difficult to work with. So, as you can see, it kind of bunches up a lot. Well, actually, I have it kind of set up here to where it's, of course, now when it's on camera, it's fine. It's all bunched up underneath here, actually, which works not bad if you want to have him facing behind you or whatever, but earlier I was having some trouble getting it to kind of flow and drape naturally, but I kind of seem to, in my quick messing around with it there, kind of got it working there. So it can be a little cumbersome and a little bit difficult to work with, which, I mean, it is what it is. It's a trade-off you get for having that ability to spread out at such a length. So it kind of is what it is. And then my other big complaint is here, is I'm going to zoom in on it so you guys can see, is if you can see on his left side there, or his left, my right, there is a wire sticking out of the cape. And I don't know if I broke it when I was messing with it or if it came out of the package like that, but the front wire, the front 2 wires here on the edges are very fragile. They're very similar to the wires that they used in the Rogue One Darth Vader that they released a couple years ago. So please be aware that they are fragile. Fortunately, mine broke in such a way where it doesn't really hinder messing with the articulation of the cape and kind of getting it into good poses, so it's not a big deal for me. It's okay. The only kind of issue is it's sticking out, and you can kind of see it if you zoom in on it, but it is what it is. I am kind of debating maybe getting a third-party cape down the line when somebody makes some for this guy. So we'll see. I know there's a lot of third-party customizers out there on Etsy and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So real quick, I did want to talk about the wires. Like I said, these are the thinner wires on the edge here that are very similar to the Rogue One Vader that was released a couple years ago. So there are 4 total wires, the 2 on the edge, and then there are 2 more here inside the cape that will give you much more articulation or range or whatever you want to call it. These wires are different. These are a flatter wire. They're very similar to what Bandai used in the SH Figuarts Dark Knight Returns Batman. So, or not Dark Knight Returns, Dark Knight Rises, excuse me. So, that's interesting. So there's 2 different kinds of wires, and they like you saw, they work pretty well. So I'd give the cape, other than those couple minor complaints, a very solid rating. I like it a lot. Okay, next up, let's talk about articulation. So, starting with the head here, it does sit on a ball joint. That is a dumbbell joint that goes all the way down here. I can actually pop the head off and show you. It's a dumbbell joint here that is curved like most Mafex releases are. It's got a bend there. You can actually turn it around if you want to kind of give him more range up or down. Mine actually, the joint in here is actually really tight for some reason, and I've been loosening it up as I've been messing with it, so it's been getting better, but it is a little tight, so I don't know how that is on everybody else's, but his head was also really difficult to kind of get off the first time and put back on. Now it doesn't seem to be much of an issue now that I've done it a few times, though. So other than that dumbbell joint for his neck there, he does have some range in his actual neck piece. That's a separate piece that does pull out to swap out to his Bruce Wayne head, so I'll show you that later. So his head does look up about that far. It can look down that far. It can rotate 360 degrees. And he's got some pretty decent tilt going on between the dumbbell joint in the neck and then the actual neck piece itself. Moving on over to the shoulders, we'll pop open we'll move his cape out of the way, and as you can see, there is a butterfly joint system. If you can kind of see, there's a butterfly joint system in there. It's kind of a ball joint on a cap, it looks like, so it can move up. So the arm itself can move out that far. It can rotate all the way around. The shoulder can move in and out because of the butterfly. There's a bicep swivel up there. And the shoulder itself can move up and down, so you can kind of reposition it in a way you want it there. It's a double jointed elbow that gets definitely past 90. Nice good range there. And then he's got the ball and hinge system here. His hands do pop off. They are just kind of held on with friction, kind of like the rest of Mafex's figures. And so the joint can move up and down, and then you can rotate it around to move side to side or lateral, if whatever you want. Moving on over to the torso. His torso is on a ball joint here. And so it actually is interesting how it works. You can kind of shift it forward so you can get some decent range, and you can actually kind of shift it back so you can get more back range. But at the same time, when you do that, you do get a little bit gappage here, but like I said, that's really kind of easily corrected by just moving it back into place, and you do get some good twist there, which is nice. So that's good. And then the abdominal section here is also on a ball joint that also twists, moves up and down. So in total, with everything, you can get that far crunch. You can arc that far back. You can probably arc a little bit more if you were to mess with it, but we don't really need to. The hips are on a ball joint system, like most Mafex hips. They are drop down, so you can get a little extra range there. He kicks forward that far, kicks back that far. You can push that back up, like so. And then pull him down. He can kick, or he can spread. Not that far, not bad. I've seen worse. He's got a thigh swivel. He's got a double jointed knee, which he can almost kick his own butt, like Robo likes to say. And then moving on down, he's got a similar ball and hinge system with the ankles to the wrists. And then he's got some toe articulation. Okay, so let's take a look at Batman's accessories. And he's got quite a bit, so let's get to it. We'll take a look at his two alternate heads first. The first up is the alternate Batman head, and that is a teeth-gritting, kind of angry fighting head, and that actually turned out really nice. I like how that looks. Very good there. Nice job, Mafex. Moving on over to his alternate unmasked Bruce Wayne head, that actually turned out a lot better than a lot of people were anticipating. Mafex kind of has a track record of kind of being hit or miss in the face department when they're making unmasked heads. And this one honestly turned out to be great. I love the way it looks. And as you can see, it does come with an alternate neck piece that does swap out onto the figure. And I'll actually show you what that looks like with the Bruce Wayne head on there here in a little bit. Moving on down to his hands, he comes with a set, or 7 sets of hands total. He's got 2 fists that came on the figure out of the box. Comes with 2 relaxed hands, so he can be relaxed and kind of just chilling. Comes with 2 splayed out hands. Comes with 2 different sets of gripping hands. He comes with 1 set of Batarang gripping hands. So these hands are specifically used to grip the Batarangs, as you can see. And then Mafex also included a set of trigger hands. So I know Batman doesn't shoot guns normally, but I always enjoy when they include trigger finger hands in figures, even though they're not necessarily appropriate for that figure. Gives you options for display. Next up are his Batarang hands, as I call them. And these have 4 Batarangs in between his fingers, and those are painted in a nice silver, and they look pretty cool. I like the way they look. And then his final set of hands are a set of grapple gun hands, 1 for each side, so depending on which one you want him to use. And those grapple guns are a nice silver, and they have nice detailing there on the center, and they do each have a hole in there so you can plug either grapple hook in there, which we will get to right now. So he comes with 1 grapple hook that is not launched yet, so it's just will sit in the grapple gun like it's ready to go. And then he comes with a long shot out grapple hook. And it's just the same hook, but on a long metal wire here. And it feels solid. I haven't really tried bending it too much. It feels pretty strong, so I'm pretty happy they included a metal wire. That was a little surprising. Thanks, Mafex. And then finally, we have his 3 Batarangs. Comes with 2 regular, just bat-looking Batarangs here. They look good, they're silver. And then he comes with a larger kind of folding one. And actually, I think this might be a hook. This might be the hook that goes, or a version of a hook. I haven't tried plugging it into the grapple gun yet, but might be, so. And then he also comes with a Mafex stand. The stands are okay that they include. I prefer the Tamashii Act 5 stands a little bit more, or Act 4 stands, excuse me. The Mafex ones, the screws tend to be a little bit loose, and they tend to have a difficult time supporting the weight of the figure themselves, so it is what it is. Alright, let's take a quick look at swapping Bruce's unmasked head onto Batman's body. So, to pop off the head and neck, you just kind of pop the whole thing out. It'll pop out there like so. As you can see, it's just kind of on a ball joint there to give it articulation. Take the Bruce Wayne head, kind of line it up, and just plug it in. And there's an unmasked Batman, and he's looking pretty cool. Alright, next we'll do some size comparisons. First up, we're going to take a look at a couple other Medicom figures. We've got the Mafex John Wick Chapter 2 and the Mafex Amazing Spider-Man, the original release. And they both scale pretty perfectly, in my opinion, with Batman. He's sitting right where he should be height-wise, and They're looking great, so I'm very glad to see Mafex being consistent across all their quote-unquote sublines. Alright, moving on. Alright, next up we got a bunch of different Batmen. So from left to right, we've got the NECA 7-inch Michael Keaton Batman from the 1989 movie. Next up we have the DC Collectibles DC Icons Rebirth Batman. In the center there we've got the Medicom Mafex Hush Batman. To his right we have the SH Figuarts Christian Bale Batman as he appeared in The Dark Knight. And then on the very far right there, we've got the Mezco Sovereign Knight Batman with a pair of custom trunks that I got from GPS Lot. I want to plug him. He's a great seller. GPS Lot on eBay. Hit him up. So that's how they look together. They look pretty good. I'd say the Medicom is pretty much in the center there, right good at your 1/12 scale. So pretty good there. And here we have some DC Multiverse figures from Mattel. Red Hood, Nightwing, Batgirl, and Red Robin. Unfortunately, the Mattel line is just slightly too tall and doesn't really scale all that well with Batman. Batgirl, I think you could probably get away with a little bit, but as for Nightwing, Red Robin, and Red Hood, and all three Robins there, they're just a little too tall, unfortunately, so that's kind of a bummer. And then here we have a few more DC Icons figures. We've got the classic Superman, who he seems just a little bit short. I picture Batman and Superman to be at least the same height, if not taller. We've got Damian Wayne Robin, Nightwing, and a classic Joker. And as far as the Batman related figures go, Damian, Nightwing, and Joker, I think scale pretty perfectly with the Medicom Batman. In fact, Nightwing and Robin in particular look really good, and those two are probably going to go in the display with the new Batman because they scale pretty perfectly in my opinion. Alright, so our final size comparison is going to be the McFarlane DC Multiverse Superman. Superman is the only McFarlane figure I have, and as expected, Superman is just a little bit too tall, or too big to be with Batman. Especially if you compare the head sizes, you can see Superman's head is just significantly larger than Batman's, so height-wise, they're a little close. I'd like Batman maybe to be a little bit taller, Superman to be a little bit shorter, but unfortunately, just not going to cut it. Luckily, though, Medicom is going to be releasing its Hush Superman, hopefully sometime this year. We all know how Medicom and its delays are, but once that comes out, maybe we'll have our definitive 6-inch Superman. We'll see. Alright, so my final thoughts on this figure are very positive. I really like this figure. The paint detail is top-notch. The articulation is great. The joints all feel fantastic. I do have a couple slight gripes other than the two I mentioned previously, with the cape being a little cumbersome and a little difficult to use, and then the wire issue poking through. The belt, I forgot to mention this in the aesthetic breakdown, but the belt is a free-floating piece there, and it can ride high a little bit in the front on mine. It's not a huge issue, it's kind of just a nitpick. It's easily fixable if I just wanted to glue it, so whatever. And then I did notice on mine the ankles were, I wouldn't say loose, just not quite as tight as I usually like for ankles. I've received SH Figuarts figures and other high-quality import figures that have also had similar loose ankles where others in the same line haven't, so it's not a huge deal. It's probably me just being a little paranoid, so it is what it is. But otherwise, this is a fantastic figure. I love all the accessories. I love the scale. This is, dare I say, the definitive comic-style Batman figure. It doesn't help that my particular favorite Batman artist is Jim Lee, so Medicom basing the figure off of his art certainly helped with my bias towards that. But otherwise, it's just really good. I'd put their Spider-Man that they released last year, their Amazing Spider-Man, to be the definitive comic Spider-Man. In fact, he was my figure of the year for 2019. And honestly, Batman is certainly going to be in contention for figure of the year 2020. Just other than those couple little nitpicks, I think he's pretty perfect. And I know Medicom has some weird QC gripes here and there, quality control gripes every now and then, and that happens. So that is what it is. But quite frankly, I'm super pleased with how this one turned out. No big QC issues on mine, just a couple minor complaints here and there. So I'd rate this figure very highly. I'd recommend him get it now because I can see this selling out quickly like Spider-Man did. I got mine from Ami. They charged me last Friday, I want to say, and I got him today on Wednesday. So I got him with DHL shipping because of obviously pandemic-related reasons. EMS and SAL shipping are still not available, so DHL actually ended up being a little cheaper than EMS would have been in my case, so worked out for me. Can't complain, they got it to me super quick. So that's my review on the Medicom Mafex Batman from Hush. Hope you guys liked the review. Like, comment, subscribe, do what you do, and I'll see you next time.